Rather recently, HAVAL H7 was released in Australia and in Russia as well, on the Russian market. Today we are translating another video from Klubniy Servis Moscow and our host Ilya, the beloved Ilya, as they disassemble this vehicle. It's a massive video. Original video is massive. As always, all credit where it's due. Link in the description to my video, to the original content. But it is massive. I want to do it justice. That's why I'm not going to rush through it. I'm going to give you the first part today, where we're going to talk about design, about the construction elements. We're going to start looking at it closely. And then in the second half, that you should stay tuned for, we will talk about the underbelly, about the chassis, about other kind of things. Okay, so with that, let's jump straight into this. Ilya is not a fan of Chinese vehicles, but he is an expert one way or another, so he feels like he owes us this detailed disassembly and review that we are very happy to translate and increase the content reach for. I've provided already my personal impressions from HAVAL H7. Yes, I've done the on-road test, aka the first test drive, so you can see the casual review on my channel. Please don't be lazy. If you're doing a proper research about this vehicle, there is content on my channel already. This video is sponsored by our old friends AutoCast, creators of a whole lineup of products that are enabling wireless connectivity to your infotainment systems in your car, as long as those infotainment systems have wired Android Auto or wired Apple Carplay respectively. Connect your phone via Bluetooth and then, without connecting any wires, have access to Google Maps, podcasts, phone calls, whatever else, you name it. Watch some of the reviews of mine on Auto Gear Reviews, sister channel of Value Cars Australia, obviously, to find out more about AutoCast devices that we are very gladly promoting for a very long time. My wife is still using one. We are users of their devices. We are not just resellers of something like that. So thank you, AutoCast, for sponsoring this video. He sort of likes it. I know it's very unusual for him to say anything good about Chinese car design, but he thinks it's aggressive front grille. The look kind of mixes the design elements from Mercedes and some other brands. It's rather subtle, but it's a nice mix. It works quite well, and I agree. There are obviously these unpainted fender plastic elements with some bolts that are protecting the vehicle against some little scuffs like tree branches if you go light off-roading. This car has also, running ahead of ourselves, rear differential lock, which tells us that it definitely tries to be seriously off-road capable. We've spoken enough about its real off-roading capabilities in a different comparison video. Like I said, don't be lazy. This is not an all-in-one video. Go check my channel. I record enough of these videos and don't want to repeat myself. This part is weird. Roof rails start bending towards the tail end of the car. See how they start straight and then they kind of slope down, which makes those rails obviously a lot less practical, but just a little bit more visually interesting and satisfying as a design element. Sacrificing utility for the looks is never a good thing, but it does look nice, what can we say? In China, this vehicle that looks exactly the same is actually quite different in terms of its engine. This version is a 2-liter turbo petrol engine, but in China, for an equivalent price, you could get a plug-in hybrid. That is, we also get that in Australia, although price probably would be different. Unfortunately, while Chinese brands get a ton of money from the Russian market, certainly a lot more than they'd ever get from Australia, they give them a lot more modest and basic configuration. Unfair, I would say, but that's just the reality for you. What does it also suggest to us? Well, if we stop here and kind of think about the concept of this all, like how does the business operate? Chinese manufacturers have a limited number of engine configurations because having too many of them is actually expensive. So this 2-liter turbo petrol engine is actually quite generic for them for Great Wall Motor, and it's being used across a whole lineup of vehicles that they produce in 2025. It's used everywhere, in a lot of vehicles that even look quite different but are powered the same way, which overall simplifies manufacturing process, logistics, and pricing. So it's a form of optimization, which I suppose can be admired. So let's take a look inside and hear what Ilya has to say about all of this rugged and stylized beauty. This car was supplied by a private owner who said, "Go ahead and disassemble my car and review my car for the reward of getting a free, very advanced aftermarket sound insulation that Klubniy Servis provides." Great Wall Motor are actually stating that even the stock version of this big dog second generation has been improved and has a much better sound insulation than HAVAL Dargo and HAVAL Big Dog there, the first generation in China, which Ilya right here sounds a bit skeptical about. Of course, let's not forget that their sound insulation, the aftermarket, is very, very good and like is head and shoulders above this. However, they sell it, which is why that's where it becomes a little bit of an incentivized statement from him. Focusing on the floor of the vehicle's body, we can see the parallel reinforcement bars where there are bolt kind of holes for the bolts, as you can see, and that's where they typically fit the drivers and the front passengers' seats onto that parallel reinforcement bar. That's where they fitted. It all looks very, very solid, well welded together. And even Ilya says that the times when Chinese cars were basically crap are long gone. Isn't that wonderful to hear? Visually, it all looks very, very good and doesn't look any different, according to him, from South Korean or European cars. Great welding seams, very, very accurate spot welding. Clearly good geometric calculations are applied in terms of placement of the elements, of the structural elements of the vehicle. It is all very, very reassuring to hear. Wonderful, really. As we might know from watching many of the other earlier translations of the videos disassembled by Klubniy Servis, it is a very rare occasion for them to be so overtly complimentary of Chinese vehicles. Ilya once again briefly mentions design. He says, look, who wants to drive a boring, bland car? Life is bland by itself by definition, so why make it more bland and drive a bland car? Here we don't have that problem at all. Then he focuses on the rear passenger door and the passive safety within that door. Let's take a closer look. We see that there is a standard pressed reinforcement element there inside of the rear passenger door, and lower, apparently we can't see it here, is a reinforcement pipe, which apparently is also wrapped in another steel reinforcement casing. Ilya says it's definitely evolution of this passive safety design, which is wonderful, has to be applauded. And he's very, 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 once again, positive about this, which I think is lovely. It's credit where it's due, rather than continue singing his old tune of like that Chinese vehicles are inferior. Here, he gives them all credit that they deserve. Let's focus on the boot space, but before we do, we can't go without any sarcasm from him, can we? So here we are seeing that basically Chinese manufacturers and builders of this HAVAL H7, they have borrowed something from Japanese design of the vehicles. They took this ancient idea of using this old felt, blue felt layer that is supposed to provide some kind of sound insulation. Ilya doesn't like it because with any moisture inside, and he knows it from Toyota, from servicing Toyotas for many, many, many years, and we're not talking here floods, we're talking any perspiration or any kind of moisture that gets absorbed by these materials over the years of use of these vehicles. This felt starts smelling. It starts smelling quite badly, so replacing it is basically on the card straight away. You know that after 5 years of use, you would have to replace it. It's just pretty bad. And there are also these awkward and cheap-looking foam inlays, which are in the empty spaces. They are just like free hovering there. I suppose they're not even fitted there or glued on. No idea why the car makers these days are thinking that it's an adequate way to insulate those empty spaces of premium or any other category of vehicles. It's surprising and not something that Ilya likes. I agree with him. He looks closer at the rear wheel arches, how they are assembled, and sees more reinforcement elements pretty much everywhere. There is almost too much of it, as he says. He briefly talks about how the rear seat belt buckle is attached, just kind of neither here or there, just points out a couple of things here. Overall, again, to his very, very high standard. Quality of the base itself is beyond any obvious criticism other than those standard vibro insulation pads, which are clearly insufficient, as Russians apply that aftermarket proper full layer of vibro insulation and thermal insulation sticky pads that cover the whole floor, typically all surfaces. So of course, compared to that, this is insufficient. But again, very, very solid construction. As solid as I suppose any mid-size SUV can boast. It can be physically constructed without having to sit on a massive and very heavy frame like a classic 4x4. So let's look at the quality of some plastic elements very briefly before we wrap up the part 1. Ilya says that while these elements, these plastic kind of insets, they are not really designed to be clipped on and then removed and clipped back on without damaging them. So they're not really designed for that. They're sort of molded once and then clipped on. But he still says that they've changed, the Great Wall Motor changed some of the design of those, where they have these holes predetermined where the bolts go and fitted, and that basically allows us to assume that they thought about this and they thought about serviceability of these elements, not just like fire and forget once, and then if anyone tries to ever detach them for any reason, they would break. So this time it shows again, maybe subtle, but evolution of the thinking process that Great Wall Motor put towards this vehicle. Great and well done, Great Wall Motor. And this is it, my friends, for the first part, so that we don't have to rush through it. Like I said, I first of all want to test the waters with you, how many of you actually watch these translated videos. So if they come recommended to you by YouTube and you skip them, but then still expect me to pump out as many high quality videos as I've done in the past, please check yourselves, because I also need to see some kind of incentive in this, and I don't want to produce these reviews if not that many of you are still interested in them. So your best bet is to give me a quick like, talk to me in the comments down below, and mainly, I would hate to say it so bluntly, but keep clicking on my thumbnails if you want more of these videos. If you don't, carry as you were. Alright, in the next one, which will be part 2 of this disassembly, we're going to focus specifically, we're going to blitz past the aftermarket insulation layers that they're going to put on. I don't want to waste your time because it's not available in Australia, it's specifically a Russian offering, but we are going to spend quite a bit of time, probably about the same amount, talking about the underbelly. How is the chassis? How is the transmission? How are the suspension elements put together? Is it just as good and just as positive as the internal reinforcement bars and general other kind of elements that Ilya, let's be honest, has been quite positive about today in this review? I was even surprised. I thought he's gonna rip this to shreds. I thought he was gonna rip it to shreds, but to my surprise, he was very, very positive. So I can't wait to translate the second part for you, and I hope to see you here. Thank you very much for being with me throughout this whole thing. As always, check the sponsors of the videos in the description of my videos. There are lots of usually occasionally updated links, especially towards Christmas right now and New Year's, and I'll talk to you next time, probably about this topic. We'll take a look at the rest of the disassembly of this HAVAL H7.